Car waits, packs on, forest beckons. Serene Saturday. Escape city noise. Hike, camp by lake. Golden light dappled mossy ground. Pine scent, damp earth. Alex pointed. Deer grazed. Fawn trotted. Ben joked. Deer fled. Men laughed loudly. They strode past a fallen oak, chatting of the past week. They dreamed of lakefish, ignoring the thicket. Alex swatted a mosquito, agreeing the lakefish were bigger. Ben kicked a stone. It rustled. Neither looked. Roots snaked. Ben shouldered pack. Stars bloomed. Alex brought marshmallows. Black outside, soft inside. A rustle, lower, heavier. Ben paused, squinted, then shrugged. Just a squirrel, he mused. Musky scent blew past, downwind. Campfire laughter echoed. Boots crunched on pine. Bear waits. They walk, unaware. Alex grinned, igniting leaves with a fiery marshmallow. Ben roared with laughter, echoing through the trees. A rustle exploded, startling him. A thrashing sound, sharp and deep. Alex's laugh died in his throat, the grin still half on his face before it faded to nothing. The forest went quiet around them, except for the rustling. It grew louder, deeper. Whatever was moving in there was big. Too big for a squirrel, too big for a turkey. Ben tried to clear his throat, to say something light, to make another joke about the deer coming back for revenge. The sound caught in his throat and came out as a thin, breathy rattle. A twig snapped. The crack was sharp and clear, loud enough to cut through the rustle. It was the kind of snap that comes from a thick branch holding more than 200 pounds of weight. Alex's fingers tightened around the strap of his pack. Ben's breathing went shallow, too fast. Then he forced it to slow. Neither man moved. Neither man spoke. They stood frozen in place, every muscle locked tight, staring straight ahead at the dark line of bushes where the movement came from. The rustling kept coming. It got closer. One heavy shift at a time. The bushes parted from the top down. Thin branches bent, then gave way. And the first thing that showed was a tuft of thick fur caught on a thorn. It pulled free with a soft rip, and the fur stayed. A broad, muscled shoulder pushed through the gap next, pressing the bushes outward far wider than either man expected. Both men's lungs seized. They had thought it might be a large deer, a wild boar maybe. Nothing like this. The shoulder moved forward, dragging the rest of the body out of the shadows, and the bear stepped into full view of the path. It stood nearly 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Even when it stood on all four paws, its head leveled with the chests of the two men. Pine needles and bits of dried leaf were tangled in its fur. Dried mud caked the thick pads of its paws. The sharp, musky scent they'd caught earlier now drifted toward them, thick and heavy, unmistakable now that the bear was out in the open. The bear did not charge. It did not roar. It simply stood there, its small dark eyes half-lidded, and lifted its head to the air. It expanded its chest, pulling in a long, slow breath. It was sampling the scent, testing what it had found. Alex's heart hammered so hard against his ribs, he was sure the bear could hear it. Ben's fingers twitched at his side, but he did not move, did not dare. The bear finished its breath. It lowered its head slowly. It turned. Its head swung left, then right, and stopped. It stopped, pointing straight at Alex and Ben. It had found them. It stepped forward, one heavy paw at a time. The first paw came down, crushing a small, fallen twig under its weight. The crack echoed through the silent clearing. The second paw came down. The third. The bear kept moving forward, slow but unstopping, each step sinking an inch into the soft, mossy dirt. Neither Alex nor Ben breathed. Ben's mind raced. Paws loomed. Bear musk neared. Alex did not lock up. In that split second, his body made the decision before his brain could process what it meant. He did not yell. He did not warn Ben. He did not even glance to the side. He turned hard to his left, where the nearest pine tree grew straight and tall beside the path, and launched himself at it. His fingers slammed into the rough, ridged bark. nails catching in deep crevices before he even thought to grip. His right boot found a low, broken branch, jammed hard against the wood, and he pushed up. His left boot slipped once, caught on a knot, and he hauled himself higher. One branch, then another. He pulled himself up fast, arms burning, breath coming in ragged gasps that he couldn't hold back. He didn't look down. He kept climbing, higher, putting as much distance between himself and the bear as he could manage, as fast as his muscles would move. Ben stood rooted to the spot for 3 full heartbeats. He stared up at Alex's boots disappearing into the pine branches, still processing what just happened. The bear kept coming. It was now less than 10 feet away. Ben's hands lifted, shaking so bad he could barely feel his fingers. He reached for the tree trunk behind him, the same tree Alex had climbed, and fumbled for a grip. His boot slid up the bark, lost purchase, and fell back to the ground with a soft thud. He was still on the ground. He was alone. The bear was 3 steps away. Ben grabbed for the bark again, both hands slamming into the rough ridges, fingers scrabbling for any deep enough crevice to hold. He lifted his right boot, jammed it against the trunk, pushed up with everything he had. His boot slipped. The smooth sole slid down the bark, scraping his calf against a splintered knot. The pain shot up his leg, but he didn't stop. He tried again, left boot this time. He got it a foot higher, locked his knee, pulled his body half an inch off the ground. The boot slipped again. He fell back, stumbled, and caught himself on one knee. He was 5 inches shorter than Alex. His boots had worn smooth soles, perfect for city pavement, not for gripping tree bark. There was no time to try again. He could hear the bear's heavy paws crushing moss now. He could smell the thick, musky scent cutting through the pine air. So close, it was thick enough to taste. Panic flared hot behind his eyes, blocking out everything for half a second. Then it cleared, sharp and sudden, like a window being wiped clean. He remembered. An old hiking guide he'd read 3 years before, tucked in the back of a car on a long trip. The line had stuck with him, for no reason he could name. If a black bear charges, climb a tree. If a brown bear comes, play dead. It ignores those who don't fight back. He didn't waste another heartbeat. He dropped his hands, let his knees give out, and fell flat to the mossy dirt. He pressed his arms tight against his sides, locked his elbows against his ribs, and stretched his legs straight out behind him. He closed his mouth, held his breath, and locked every muscle in his body. He didn't twitch a finger. He didn't flinch when the bear took another step. So close the ground vibrated under his back. He lay perfectly still. He was lifeless, waiting. The bear lumbered the last 3 steps, each heavy paw sinking into the moss beside Ben's body. It stopped. Its shadow stretched over Ben from head to foot, blocking the faint, dappled sunlight that had fallen across his face. Ben held his breath so tight his lungs started to burn. He kept every muscle locked, even as his heart hammered against his ribs hard enough to shake his whole chest. He could feel the bear's body heat radiating down from above, thick and warm against the cool forest air. The bear lowered its head. Its massive wet nose brushed the hair at Ben's temple, then moved down to the curve of his ear. Ben didn't move. The nose dragged slowly across his cold cheek, pausing for 3 full seconds right above his jawline. Warm, damp, bear breath fanned across his skin, thick with the scent of rot and pine. Ben's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. He didn't let a single muscle twitch. The bear moved its nose lower, sniffing the collar of Ben's shirt, then the shoulder of his chest. It let out a low huff of breath that ruffled the hair on Ben's head. It pulled back half an inch, then nudged Ben's shoulder hard with the top of its snout. The nudge shifted Ben's body a full inch across the moss. Ben didn't react. He kept his arms pressed tight, his legs locked straight, his face relaxed. He didn't even blink. The bear waited. It stood over him for another 10 slow heartbeats, waiting for any movement, any sign of life. When none came, it let out a loud, wet snort that echoed through the quiet trees. It shifted its weight from front paws to back, then turned slowly on the spot. It started moving away, one heavy step at a time, back toward the thick line of bushes it had come from. Ben still didn't move. He kept holding his breath, kept his muscles locked, as the bear's steps grew fainter. He didn't move when the rustle of undergrowth started. He didn't move when the rustle faded. He stayed perfectly still, even after the bear had vanished completely into the dark green shadow of the forest. The birds' songs and rustling leaves did not return right away. For a full minute after the bear vanished, the forest held its breath. Not a single sound, not even a breeze through the pine branches. Alex was still perched on a thick branch 15 feet above the ground. His fingers locked so tight around the branch above that his nails dug half moons into his palm. He didn't move. He counted his own slow breaths, one after another, waiting for any sound of the bear returning. He counted to 60, one breath per number, and when the silence held, he loosened his grip on the upper branch. He shifted his weight to test his legs. They were shaking so bad the whole branch vibrated under him. He swallowed hard, wiped the sweat from his eyes with the back of one hand, and reached down for the next lower branch. His foot found the first sturdy lower branch, and he lowered himself slowly, one limb at a time. He moved an arm, then a leg, testing each hold before committing his full weight. The bark was rough, but his fingers were too sweaty to grip properly. Halfway down, his left boot slipped off the branch it rested on. He grabbed for the trunk with both hands, his shoulders slamming hard into the bark, and held on until he could find his footing again. He caught his breath, kept going. A few steps lower, his right hand slipped. He swung for a second, caught the next branch with his elbow, and hauled himself back into place. His heart was hammering so hard he could hear it in his ears, louder than any sound the bear had made. He finally lowered his last foot to the mossy ground. The impact sent a jolt up his legs, and he had to catch himself on the trunk to stay upright. He leaned against the bark for a full 10 seconds, breathing hard, his chest heaving in and out with ragged gulps of pine-scented air. When his breathing slowed enough to walk, he pushed off the tree. He turned slowly and stepped toward the spot where Ben still lay flat on the ground. Alex walked slowly over to where Ben lay still, not moving a muscle. Ben waited until Alex stopped 3 feet away, then pushed himself up off the moss with both hands. He brushed crumbled leaves and dirt from his arms, one brush at a time, slow and deliberate. He didn't look at Alex at first. He kept his gaze on the ground, brushing off the last bits of plant matter from his sleeves. Alex wiped a fresh streak of sweat from his forehead. His hands were still shaking. He let out a nervous, shaky laugh, trying to cut through the thick silence hanging between them. "Wow," Alex said, his voice cracking halfway through the words. "I saw it nuzzle your ear." "What did the bear whisper in your ear?" The laugh died in Alex's throat the second Ben looked up. Ben's face was still pale from the adrenaline, his jaw tight, no smile, no trace of humor. He brushed the last bit of dirt from his side, his movements steady, no hurry. He shifted his weight to one foot and held Alex's gaze without blinking. The forest was still quiet around them. The breeze had picked up again, but it didn't break the tension between the two men. It just rustled the pine branches high above, soft and distant. Ben didn't raise his voice. He didn't snarl. He didn't show any anger at all, on the surface. His voice was even calm, cold enough to make the hair on the back of Alex's neck stand up. "He told me," Ben said, "never travel with a friend who runs away when you need him most." The words hung in the air between them. No follow-up, no explanation. Just that one line, cutting through the quiet forest, final and unforgiving. Alex's smile dropped completely. His own breath caught in his chest. He couldn't think of a single thing to say. Not a single excuse. Not a single word to fix what had just broken, right there on the mossy forest ground.